Excellent. Thank you all so much for sharing all these examples. We're going to move on down to, there's a blank slide. We're going to pass that one and move to the next slide. And why do you think I asked you to share your examples of all of those factors of ineffective that interfere with listening instead of just telling you about each of them? Why did I ask you for examples?
We can make a connection personally.
Excellent. So there's a personal connection to the material and the content. We're moving from talking about listening to sending and receiving messages. And so with looking at different types of messages, we have obviously verbal and nonverbal messages. And with body language, it's really important, especially if we're working with children with emotional and behavioral disabilities, or children who have difficulty being able to perceive emotions, or I'm thinking of children with autism as well, and even children with learning disabilities, because we need to make sure that they don't always pick up on social cues. And so we need to be very cognizant of our body language when we're working with children, and be very explicit in letting them know, like through body language, and then also pair that with words. And Laura brings up a great point, that it's very important for them to understand, and then also how they're coming across with their body language. And then we want to be really cognizant of this too with other professionals. So I'm going to give you a common scenario here verbally, and I want you to tell me what this conveys. A student walks, or no, let's say you walk into another teacher's classroom after school. You weren't invited, you just walk in, you start a conversation with them. During the conversation, they're on their computer the entire time and saying, yeah, What are they conveying to you?
What you're saying is not important.
Excellent. What you're saying is not important. They are busy. They're not listening. All of these things. And so I'm not saying I've never engaged in that behavior, but from being a special education teacher, I'm much more aware of it now. And so as soon as someone comes in my office, I put down everything. I stop what I'm doing, and I sit and I listen to what they're saying. And it's something that we have to practice. And I bring that up because it happens all the time. And Justin says, I won't lie, I have. Oh yeah, we all have. We've all done this to people. And we definitely don't want to do that. And so one thing that we need to, and great point, Laura, you're modeling this for students as well. And we need to always bring this back to the students. That is so important, because we are modeling for them how to interact with one another, because they look to us as the model for that. Also with body language, I wanted to bring up that it's really important to make sure that your messages of your body language are congruent with what you're saying. And so, for example, during that situation where somebody comes into the room and I'm like sitting at my computer, what you have, oh, it's really important. What you're telling me is really important, but my body language isn't telling them that it's important. So we want to make sure our body language matches up. Or let's say, for example, you're trying to de-escalate a child who is freaking out, and you're saying, everything's going to be okay, while your fists are clenched. I mean, that isn't telling them everything's going to be okay, because you're clenching your own fist. Adina says, my pre-K kids will grab my face to look at them if I'm not listening. Well, that's definitely a behavior you wanna stop. Allison says, my son does that too, Adina. He'll grab me and say, Mommy, cheese, drink. My puppy bites me. It's not listening, but if I'm not doing what she wants me to do, she bites me. I don't enjoy it. Julie and Lisa, if you could move your avatars so they won't say away. The little ones are definitely honest. And then finally, too, I wanted to tap in on talking about electronic communication. And this box is not yet for sale. Let me make it for sale for you. It is, let me just double check now to make sure the contents are for sale and not a copy. Nope, the copy's for sale. It's not ready yet. Now it's ready. In this box, there is an activity that you don't need to submit me a note card for. But I would like you to go ahead and purchase the box, review the note card, and then be prepared to discuss it. Okay, we got about 90% of people ready, so we're going to move on. And with looking at this first email between teachers, is this an example of a professional exchange? So let's look at the next one. To the one that the parent sent. What kind of feelings does this immediately bring up in you?
That the parent is extremely upset.
Yes, the parent is extremely upset. It brings up anger. It brings up defensiveness. The mother is out of line. Definitely she is. Frustration, attacked, protective. Yes. And whatever feeling it initially brings up in you is totally fine, because we're all going to have feelings. But even though the initial feeling may be defensive, what do we change this feeling to? How can we restructure how we think about her in order to change this feeling? Maybe the child has said things that aren't the case. That could be. She's concerned. Alicia, that's exactly what it is. Vernon, her perspective, definitely. So when we're thinking about what is her frame of reference, where is she coming from? Now, I would think that because of the way this email is so inflammatory, that she's been reinforced in the past for being a bully. It's worked for her. And so, therefore, she's trying it again. However, just because it worked for her in the past, it's not going to work for her with you. How would we respond to this email? Adina, that's a good point.
I would request a conference and maybe have, make sure the principal and other people are there so that people can document what is said and how it's handled.
Excellent. Definitely with the conference. I saw with the call, do we respond to this email in writing? And what happens if you don't respond to this email in writing? You do want to respond to this in writing, because otherwise the parent can then say, she just never responds to me. And so, how could we respond to this email appropriately? Laura says that I have read it and will call. And how can we say it in a way that isn't going to elicit a hostile response from her? Alicia says, I understand your concerns. And even though you may not, you could even say, I understand that you have concerns. And that's completely true. Justin says, please make an appointment with me and the principal. So we could start off, Mrs. Fallenstein, I appreciate you contacting me. I understand that you have concerns. And then these concerns will be best addressed with the conference. And I think that you should go ahead and, as the teacher, I will go ahead and schedule the conference and send you dates to see what would work best for you. Or please provide me with dates and times that would work best for you so that I can arrange to schedule this conference with our principal.